Grade 9, Chapter 2, The Adventures of Toto. This chapter is penned by Ruskin Bond. Ruskin Bond is an Indian author of British descent. He has written this story, which is interesting to read. He prolifically authored inspired children's books and was awarded the Satya Akademi Award to honor his work of literature. The Adventures of Toto is an amusing story by Ruskin Bond, highlighting the antics of a mischievous monkey. The narrator's grandfather was fond of animals. One day he bought a baby monkey from a Tonga driver and named it Toto. He wanted Toto because he had already possessed several animals big and small, such as tortoise, squirrel, a pair of rabbits, and a goat. But he didn't have a monkey. He loved Toto too much. Slowly and steadily, the monkey grew mischievous and began to create troubles. Let us read the story and see what did the monkey do. Have you ever had a baby monkey as a pet? Toto is a baby monkey. Let's find out whether he is mischievous or docile. So this is what the narrator wants us to know. Grandfather who bought Toto from a Tonga driver for the sum of 5 rupees was happy that finally he got a new pet. Toto was a pretty monkey. His bright eyes sparkled with mischief beneath deep set eyebrows, and his teeth, very often displayed in a smile that frightened the life out of elderly Anglo-Indian ladies. But his hands looked dried up as though they had been pickled in the sun for many years. Grandmother always fussed when grandfather brought home some new bird or animal. This is what the narrator states in the chapter. So, it was decided that Toto's presence should be kept a secret from her until she was in a particularly good mood. The narrator's grandfather and the narrator put him away in a little closet opening into the narrator's bedroom wall, where he was tied securely. This is what they had to do so that they can keep Toto away from the sight of his grandmother. A few hours later, when the narrator's grandfather and the narrator came back to release Toto, they found that the walls, which had been covered with some ornamental paper chosen by the narrator's grandfather, now stood out as brick and plaster. They were taken out like naked brick and plaster. The peg in the wall had been wrenched from its socket, and the narrator's school blazer, which was in shreds. The narrator wondered what his grandmother would say, but the narrator's grandfather did not worry. He seemed pleased with Toto's performance. This is how Toto started reacting and behaving in his new environment. He is clever, the narrator's grandfather said. Given time, I am sure he could have tied the torn pieces of your blazer into a rope and made his escape from the window. This is what the grandfather of the narrator had to say when they saw that Toto had messed up the things in the house. Toto's presence in the house was still a secret. Toto's presence in the house was still a secret. Toto was now transferred to a big cage in the servants' quarters where a number of grandfather's other pets, that is, narrator's grandfather's other pets, lived very sociably. Pair of rabbits, a tame squirrel, and for a while their new pet goat. But the monkey wouldn't allow any of his companions to sleep at night. So the narrator's grandfather, who had to leave Dehradun the next day, thought to carry Toto along with him as he was going to collect his carry Toto along with him. Unfortunately, on that trip, but he told him about it afterwards. A big black canvas kit bag was provided for Toto, as the grandfather had to carry it to the railway station. This with some straw at the bottom. Whose new aboard? Toto's new aboard. When the bag was closed, there was no escape. But Toto could not get his hands through the opening, and the canvas was too strong for him to bite his way through. And this is what made Toto feel anxious and excited. His efforts to get out only had the effect of making the bag roll about on the floor or occasionally jump into the air. An exhibition that attracted a curious crowd of onlookers on the Dehradun railway platform was a worth watching sight. Toto remained in the bag, but while grandfather was producing his ticket at the railway turnstile, Toto suddenly poked his head out of the bag and gave the ticket collector a wide grin. So this is how the ticket collector got to know about Toto. The poor man was taken aback, but with great presence of mind and much to grandfather's annoyance. The ticket collector said, "Sir, you have a dog with you. You will have to pay for it accordingly." In vain did narrator's grandfather take Toto out of the bag. In vain did he try to prove that a monkey did not qualify or even as a quadruped. Toto was classified a dog by the ticket collector, and 3 rupees was the sum handed over as Toto's fare. The narrator's grandfather, just to get his own bag, took from his pocket the pet tortoise. He took from his pocket the pet tortoise that he was carrying along with him and said, "What must I pay for this, since you charge for all animals?" The ticket collector looked closely at the tortoise, probed it with his forefinger, gave narrator's grandfather a pleased and triumphant look, and said, "No charge. It is not a dog." So this is how the narrator's grandfather had to pay for Toto and for the tortoise that he was carrying along. that he was carrying along with him. Later on, when he returned back home, the narrator's grandfather made sure that Toto was finally accepted by the narrator's grandmother too. The narrator's grandmother was not happy to see Toto, so the narrator's grandfather had to leave Toto in the stable, where he had for a companion the family donkey Nana. On Toto's first night in the stable, the narrator's grandfather paid him a visit to see if he was comfortable. To his surprise, he found Nana, without apparent cause, pulling at her halter as far as possible so that he did not get disturbed by the monkey. Nana kept her head as far as possible, for a bundle of hay as well. Grandfather gave Nana a slap across her haunches, and she jerked back, dragging Toto with her. He had fastened onto her long ears with his sharp little teeth. Toto and Nana never became friends. This is how the narrator thought that Toto with other creatures that were kept at his place as pets. Later on in the story, we also get to know how Toto played pranks with other family members by pulling their clothes, munching on the food, and messing up the food in the kitchen and disturbing other family members in the narrator's house. One day at lunchtime, a large dish of pulao stood in the center of the dining table. The narrator's family entered the room to find Toto stuffing himself with rice. When the narrator's grandmother screamed and Toto, who was scared, the plate at her, one of the narrator's aunts rushed towards Toto. As she rushed forward and thought to do something, received a glass of water in the face. When narrator's grandfather arrived, Toto picked up the dish of pulao and made his exit through a window. He found him in the branches of the jackfruit tree. The grandfather, that is the narrator's grandfather, thought to catch hold of Toto, but then by the time Toto had jumped over the branches of the jackfruit tree, the dish still in his arms. He remained there all afternoon, eating slowly through the rice, determined on finishing every grain. And then, in order to spit grandmother, who had screamed at him, he threw the dish down from the tree and chattered with delight when it broke into 100 pieces. This is how Toto disturbed everybody in the family, and the narrator's family members were not happy to have Toto at their place. Obviously, Toto was not the sort of pet they could keep for long. Even the narrator's grandfather realized that they were not well to do and could not afford the frequent loss of dishes, clothes, curtain, and wallpaper. So The narrator's grandfather found the Tonga driver and sold Toto back to him for only 3 rupees. So this is how we get to know how Toto disturbed the family members and why the grandfather who liked Toto had to return Toto back to the Tonga driver. This is an interesting story where the author Ruskin Bond talks about how important it is